Hello guys, welcome, and also by the way we have Amber to tell a story, so let's start straight away now. LMAO.
5 photo shoots, 3 fashion runway shows, and 8 performances. Phew. This must be every other teenage girl's dream I'm living. Well, now I'm just relaxing inside my bathtub. I'm glad that was all over. Hi, my name is Iris. I live in New York and I had quite a journey through my life. I would be in several shows, or concerts a day performing for fans, and that took hours. I would be too busy to even answer a phone call. I've always wanted to go to the city just for a little break alone, by myself, but my parents forbid me to go to the city, unless I had something important like a fashion runway show or a concert, then they would let me go, but only with a bodyguard, which I did not like the sound of. One day I got up the nerve to tell them I wanted to quit my career. But they refused to let me, so we made a deal. Iris can take a break for as long as she wants, my mother told my father. Fine, but she has to take at least 2 maids with her, and I have to choose the apartment, and you have to have a secret identity and nobody can know who you really are, my father mumbled angrily. But Dad, there's already room services there, so I don't need maids looking after me, I replied. Oh, alright then, well, as long as they don't know who you really are, then I suppose it's fine, Dad sighed. Finally, I would get to live a normal life just like any other teenager. The next couple of days I ended up on an airplane heading to Cologne City in South America, my dream place I've always wanted to visit. For the next few days I was living a life that could be no better than having racing fans running after me throughout the streets. Last time there was a huge crowd chasing me, but this poor boy helped me. We hid in a dumpster together. He also told me that was where he lived since he had nowhere to stay, so I gave him just enough money to stay in a hotel for a while. I also picked out some new clothes and got food for him, but hiding in a dumpster was worth it anyway. Dreams over. This lady called and she told me the seat I was sitting in was actually her seat, and I could tell she was definitely a hater by the attitude she gave me, so I just asked the pilot if I could have a new seat, so he gave me first class. I felt depressed by myself on the airplane. Nobody knew who I really was and I was pretty much bored but happy at the same time because I wouldn't have to deal with all the stuff I had to do to keep my fans happy. 4 hours later I finally arrived in Cologne City. It was beautiful. The sea looked like a giant blue mirror, the green grass was beautiful when it was wet, and the shells on the beach were all huge and sparkly. I knew I would love it here. Soon enough the plane landed and I got my stuff. Everyone left the plane and I got off too. I booked a taxi to drop me off at the apartment where I was planning to stay for a while. Where to? The man asked. Fantasia, I replied. Oh boy, it was a long drive. How far is this place? The man replied and said it would be a 2.5-hour drive, so I fell asleep halfway there. Finally we arrived at the apartment and it was 2:05. I was excited to start a new life in my new home for a while. I was happy because over here in Cologne, there's no fans, no fashion shows, no concerts, no parents, no stress, just me living my life as a normal girl. Siri is now my new name for my disguise. I spelled my real name backwards so hopefully no one will notice, I mumbled to myself. Half an hour later I decided I would take a walk to get my father off my mind. Later on in the middle of my walk this skateboard came flying at me, then this boy who looked my age flew past. Was he chasing me? I thought. As soon as I looked down I realized his skateboard was right by my feet, so I ran to him to return it, and it seemed as if he was chasing this dog who stole his bag. Hey! I shouted at the dog. I pulled out this leftover bologna sandwich from my bag and waved it around. Soon enough the smell hit him and he dropped the bag and ran towards me. I left the dog to eat and handed the boy his skateboard. I wonder if that was his dog or a stray. If it was a stray I would adopt it because I love dogs and I really want one. But he told me it was his neighbor's dog and I just had to deal with it. Then after he thanked me and flew past back to his home, I also noticed that he lived in the same neighborhood as me. Marcus is his name. I think that's a nice name, I thought. Later that night I headed back to my apartment room and hopped into bed hoping nothing bad would happen back at home. There would be 4 bodyguards inside my room, 2 on one side of the door each outside of the room and 2 on one side right next to my bed, and they had to stay awake all night. Honestly, it creeped me out that I had to have bodyguards watching me while I sleep, so I guess I would just have to deal without sleeping with them in my room. But now that I'm alone in Cologne City in my apartment room with no bodyguards, it is even a lot better now. If my bodyguards came with me it would sorta give away my disguise. Yawns morning already. Well, I guess I have to get ready for school. I can't wait. I've been homeschooled my whole life and was never allowed to go to a real school, but now I finally can tell myself. On the way into my school I noticed that Marcus, the boy from yesterday, was in my class, which I was super happy about because from now on I could just stay near him and wouldn't get into any trouble. He could probably be my new friend too. Soon after the first period I was going to my locker and one of those popular blonde girls, called Yael, started making fun of me and said I looked like a poor potato sack girl, which made me kind of sad, but 2 seconds later Marcus came in and told her to leave me alone. I was glad he stood up for me. As Yael walked away, I saw she had done nothing. She didn't yell at me or we didn't break into a cat fight, but one thing I saw was this smirk on her face. Now I knew she was going to do something bad to me. Next period we had a presentation called a visual aid and I was going to do mine next, so I went to my locker and grabbed my presentation. I wasn't looking where I was going, when suddenly this girl and I bumped into each other and then she accidentally spilled hot coffee all over my shirt. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, the girl whined, please don't be mad at me. Here, you can borrow my spare shirt. We walked to her locker and I smiled at her and told her I wasn't mad and told her it was an accident and accidents happen all the time and that made her cheer up. As soon as I was done cleaning up myself I headed back to my classroom with my presentation. In the middle of my presentation I realized I kept on itching myself. The class kept on giggling, then this girl handed me a mirror. I took one look at myself and saw my skin was all red. That was one of the most humiliating moments of my life. Soon after that period I walked over to the cafeteria and it looked like no one wanted to sit with me during lunch. So I ended up sitting at a table in a corner of the cafeteria all alone when suddenly a shadow came covering all the light. I turned around to see Marcus and a group of boys. He told me to buzz off and said this was their table and said I can't sit here. There weren't any tables left, so I yelled, fine, I'll sit on the floor then, and I ended up doing what I said. A few seconds later there was a big burst of laughter. Were they all laughing at me? Well, I didn't care, and later on, people started calling me Weirdo. My name had officially changed from Iris to Siri to Weirdo. I just ignored it and ate the rest of my lunch. Lunch was over, finally. I was a bit embarrassed because I thought everyone was laughing at me, which they probably were. But I didn't really care. Ugh, why am I still itchy? I keep scratching my head, face, arms. Do I have chickenpox? I ask myself. Marcus crept over and told me that he heard that popular girl, Yair, talking with the girl who spilled coffee on my shirt. He said that she did it on purpose and they also plotted to do this as revenge, and that shirt she gave me had some kind of chemical on it. Don't worry, I said, I have a plan, and the very next day I came into school with the finest and most expensive Gucci pants, and short-sleeve fluffy coated crop shirt which costs more than $900. As I walked through the hallway I shoved the receipt into Yair's face and that got her all shocked of how much my new clothes costed. I was glad that she had finally zipped up her mouth and instead of making fun of me, she just gave me an angry look. Soon enough 2 weeks had passed by and I loved it here in Cologne City. I also heard that Marcus was going to this party hosted by Yair because she got bored, so I went along too. We arrived at the party. Soon enough Yair got everyone's attention and said she had a little show for us. Then she showed pictures of me as Iris. Did she think anyone would believe that? But then she ran over to me and pulled off my wig. I couldn't believe it. I stood there humiliated. I saw the look on Marcus's face, and he looked shocked like his brain had just done a triple backflip. I ran away with a crowd of fans chasing me. I couldn't believe Yair knew about this. How could she know? I told no one. I whispered to myself in tears. My heart shattered into pieces. After that terrible party, I ran back to my apartment room. "Oh, aren't you that famous celebrity Iris?" The receptionist said. "I'm not here for autographs," I replied. I ran straight to my room and locked the door. I grabbed my phone and called Dad, and told him I wanted to come home now, so he sent a private jet to come get me. As soon as I got home, my parents said they had to go on a business trip and said I wasn't allowed to go with them, so obviously I had to stay with the dump bodyguards and maids at home. One day I heard this familiar voice. I looked out of my window and saw it was Marcus. Finally he spotted me and asked me to tell his bodyguards to put him down because he just wanted to talk to me. "Put him down, boys," I replied. I took Marcus into the garden and he took out a magazine and threw it to me. "I just came here for an autograph," he told me, but while I was signing it he grabbed me and swooped me into a big hug. "Oh, Iris, I missed you so much." "I missed you too," I replied also. I'm sorry for lying, so what shall I call you?" Marcus asked. "Just maybe yours," I replied.
Okay, now that's all. Bye guys. Also, remember to subscribe if you liked the story and like to. Bye. Now go to my birthday. End the video.